A few days ago, former President of the United States, the finest of Kenya, Barack Obama, finally graced us with his public presence, while turbulence surrounding Trump and the administration raised suspicions about the timing.
Are aliens real?
Uh, they're real, but I haven't seen them, and they're not being kept in what is it?
Area 51?
Area 51. There's no underground facility unless there's this enormous conspiracy, and they hid it from the president of the United States.
What was the first question you wanted answered when you became president?
Where are the aliens?
Where are the aliens?
Clips of this interview of the former president talking about the possibility that aliens are already amongst us filled people with nostalgia. Filled me personally with nostalgia for a time that I miss so deeply, a time where I cared about aliens, mermaids, and Bigfoot. I miss that time. And it probably had the same effect on the people of the US and maybe everyone around the world, except the countries he bombed during his administration, the people he waged war on for financial reasons that are not going to talk about. Nevertheless, most people might have felt that kind of nostalgia. Most people might have said to themselves, Lord, please let Obama free us from this mess. Bring back the LGBTQ fight for freedom and banish this fascist regime. Thank you. Amen. I don't know, as I personally was not intrigued by the timing of the information. I do not care. The only thing that matters to me is the information itself. Because if there is anything a former president should be doing while everyone is like going crazy over the files, is divert their attention to the enemy above. And as a guy myself, I prefer my attention diverted, which is why we will be talking about aliens today. For as long as the history books will show, humans have always been fascinated by their existence. To exist and know that we exist is nothing short of magnificent. And as the Greeks transitioned from worshipping the stars to studying them, people started wondering, are we not alone after all? Is that giant rock I see with my telescope equivalent to this giant rock I'm standing on? Can we meet the Martians? Now, first of all, I think we need to make the distinction between the possibility of life outside of Earth and the possibility that life outside of Earth is intelligent, it's advanced, it's civilized, and the possibility that that civilized, advanced life outside of Earth is dropping by every once in a while to visit us. We should make the distinction because, according to scientists, the universe is huge. You're probably thinking, no shit, Sherlock. It is huge. What it is freaking huge. It's so freaking big. We cannot see no limits to it, and it keeps on stretching. And scientists believe that if we're talking numbers, it's very probable that there are some creatures out there, even if it's at least a bacteria or some kind of organism that has one cell in our galaxy, there is probably something. And I know that people that are scientific, the smarties, the intellectuals, are dying. Do not die. And I also know that some people are going to be like, well, this is a tired topic. Aliens do not exist. I would have known. No, you would not have known. Because there are theories that explain why you would not have known. First theory is that these alien civilizations self destructed the way we're so close to doing. Maybe they nuked each other, like we're so close to doing, yeah. Or maybe they're watching us. They think of us as interesting experiment and they're leaving us alone and while studying us. Or maybe there's this theory that life started elsewhere and we are the aliens, which I imagine goes against everything Darwin believed in. And there's also this theory called the Black Forest theory. Spooky, right? Well, let me ask you a question. If you end up at a forest, a black forest at night, it's dark. You do not know how to navigate yourself inside of that forest. You're in the forest and you're kind of lost and you do not know. Maybe you're not lost, but you do not know. You have not been to that forest before. Would you call out hello? Would you do that? Would you? Because if you say yes, then you're a psychopath, and I'm afraid of you. And I genuinely believe you have some few bodies under your belt, and you probably weren't even there camping. What were you doing out there alone with the shovel? But honestly, good for you. Me, personally, I would climb up the tree and I would watch. I would stalk the shit out of these things until I figure out if it's a human, if it's a shapeshifter, if it's Slender Man. I do not care. I will climb the tree and I will watch. And if it, even if it's a human, I will follow them and I will stalk him behind the bushes. And they're gonna shoot me in the face because they're gonna think I was trying to jump them. But it just, I'm so fucking terrified for my life. So this is the theory. Basically that the galaxy, the universe is not safe. It's not safe. And these other civilizations, if they are smart enough, they are advanced enough to have survived the self-destruction path we are destined to go through actually. They would not want us to know that they exist. They would be like, no. They would actually be hiding. That's the theory. The theory is that the universe is not safe, that there is a predator out there, and that these civilizations they know better than to make their existence announced. They know better, which begs the question: what is this predator that's traveling through galaxies, looking for its new prey? And have they noticed us yet? Or maybe we are the predator. Maybe our ancestors earned us a bad rep, and now everyone thinks of us as the bad neighbor, which we are. And every time these aliens they see a human astronaut out there or they receive a message from us, they be thinking, the ghetto, these human, they have no class. No class, I tell you. That's what imagine them saying about us honestly, because it fits. It's very fitting. Or maybe aliens just do not care. They do not care to contact us. Who are we? They just don't care. Maybe they belittle us, which is fitting. I mean, if they're not killing each other, I think it's fitting because we are killing each other. We are kidnapping kids, and not all of us, but the people who present us, the people who need us are kidnapping children and are taking them to an island and doing unspeakable things to them, which makes me angry now that I think about it. But these people present us. I don't blame them for not wanting to talk to us. Or there's this other possibility, like this Redditor says, the real truth about aliens is obvious once you ignore all logic and listen only to the faint hum of your refrigerator at 3 a.m. Aliens absolutely exist, but the government keeps denying it because they are not allowed to admit the truth about how underwhelming aliens actually are. These extraterrestrials are not hyper intelligence, super technological beings. They're basically interstellar HOA inspectors. Why? Why? But also, can I apply for this job? This looks lit. They cruise by Earth every so often to make sure our planet is still within galactic aesthetic standards. Okay. I mean, how come we're not fined yet? I bet we are so not within galactic aesthetic standards. If we are within galactic aesthetic standards, it's because Mother Earth, Mother Nature, is is such a baddie. I mean, she has the most obnoxious, annoying children, aka human beings, and yet she's slaying. She is being abused left and right, and she's still serving looks every single day. That's the only reason why we could be within galactic aesthetic standards, I believe. So we should be fine, but this shit crazy, right? The deception started in 1970s when the first alien delegation arrived. The government panicked, thinking they were facing a superior civilization. But the aliens were real, but the aliens were really just here to complain about Earth's orbit being a little lopsided, and that our magnetic field clashed with their neighborhood vibe. Our leaders then created the entire narrative surrounding abductions, crop circles, and advanced tech. The reality is that alien ships run on something similar to low tech cosmic soup, and the ships top out at 2000 F. This is why UFOs always appear blurry. Everyone is too embarrassed to hold the camera steady while watching a Galaxy PT cruiser struggling to parallel park over New Mexico. The government continues the deception today because if humanity ever found out the truth that we are not insignificant specks in a vast cosmic ocean, but we're actually the most responsible being in the whole galaxy, society would collapse under the weight of the unexpected responsibility. And that's the conspiracy. They aren't hiding the aliens from us. They're hiding us from the aliens because we're the best behaved house on the block, which is a diabolical thought all by itself. But let's get serious for a second because there are people that actually believe that the government is hiding aliens. Like this other post I saw on Reddit. This person says, I believe Stephen Greer with what he says that aliens have been kept a secret by the shadow government and the oligarchs since the 40s, and that we were contacted back then because of nuclear weapons. I also believe him when he says that we learned to reverse engineer their craft in the 50s and that we have had insane technology since then, but it's been kept a secret. If he is a psyop or lying, I believe that there are no aliens. They would have made contact by now, or at least we would have seen something more than what we've seen. So either he is lying, so either he is right, and the others like him are right, and it's been oppressed, or they don't exist. In my opinion, and if they do not exist, even as an atheist, they are probably angels, demons from a different dimensions. The stuff we have seen that's being said by some, and if aliens don't exist, I could be wrong as an atheist. There is more out there, not just not sure.
2 plus 2.
Oh, it's not easy.
How?
Philosophy. Sometimes it's 4, sometimes it's 5.
There is the possibility that aliens exist and are here, and they are the ruling class. We're talking about the lizard people. We are talking about the lizard people. This came about in the 90s when a man named David Icke, a pro soccer player, met with the Queen and later on went on interviews to say that when he was with her, her eyes changed, shifted. He went on to say that we are being ruled by lizard people, humanoids that are shapeshifters, cold blooded reptiles, basically.
And we call them the British royal family. No, they're not. They're the German, Danish, Greek, Russian, and anything else involved royal family. Same with all the others around bloody Europe. Same bloody family. These are subsidiary networks of bloodlines under different names and the secret society network within that country. And that network's brief or job is to impose in their sphere of influence, their country, what is centrally dictated from the headquarters. Thus, as I've travelled around the world, I've seen the same things being introduced in different countries around the same time, often justified by the same excuses, where this human network goes up into or out into other dimensions of reality, and the dictating force is not human. And common themes. The number of times you see around the world depictions in different societies of half human, half reptile entities.
But nevertheless, there are other people that claimed that lizard people do exist, like this magazine called The New Wire, who claimed that Lady Gaga told them that Prince Charles shapeshifted in front of her. Now, the thing about this magazine is that they often publish unverified accounts and false conspiracy theories, which does not make them a very credible source. However, there are other sources like survivors of Epstein. This painting, for example, was painted by a Jeffrey Epstein survivor who portrayed his co conspirators as murderous lizard people. Another Epstein survivor, Juliet Bryant, also did an interview when she claimed that Jeffrey Epstein shapeshifted in front of her.
Because when I was taken to the island, I saw Epstein shift in front of my eyes. It was very, very frightening. And it's just something that I had to explain to myself because I saw him turn into something. I saw him shift into something. It only happened once, but I've never seen anyone else turn into anything like that. And it happened. It was like a weird hologram and it had like big black eyes. And
So
it
it had
happened.
big,
It
big,
was,
big black eyes, and it wasn't quite reptilian, but it was esque.
yeah, it was like reptilian, draconian, alien sort of thing. It was like, it wasn't like the usual reptilian pictures that they draw of people where but I saw, and it was like, and I was, when I looked at him and saw him as that, I decided to look away and look back at him. And when I looked back, it was him again.
But while Jeffrey Epstein was undeniably obsessed with cloning, human experiment, and eugenetics, I think it is important to consider the fact that these are traumatized victims. And it, I imagine, this is a speculation on my part, but I imagine it's the same thing when have you ever seen these true crime stories where a predator approaches a child and they claim to be an FBI agent or a cop. And most of the times it works because the child does not know better, because the child is scared and they end up being abused by the predator who claimed to be a person of authority. So I think it's very possible that Epstein might have put that idea in her head. I mean, what's a better way to control her than to make her believe that you are a supernatural creature? And also, I've seen some speculations, some people talking about how Jeffrey Epstein have been raising have been raising these plants that are poisonous and that could drug the victims and lead to blocking their consent and clear thinking, which means that drugs were most likely involved in roofing was most likely happening sometimes during these abuse. So it makes sense that a victim would come out and say something like this. I don't know. On a quiet summer night in 1961, Betty and Barney Hill were driving through New Hampshire when they saw a strange light in the sky. What happened next became one of the most famous alien abduction stories in history. The Hills said they were taken aboard a craft and examined by beings that were not normal. Their story became the blueprint for modern alien abduction accounts. Some skeptics suggest that the couple might have experienced sleep paralysis or stress. However, there are people that believe that something more intentional was taking place. To understand why, we need to look back at history. After World War II, the world was in chaos, and farmers in the Philippines were getting angry at the high rent prices, the unfair land distribution, and US involvement in their politics. They tried voting for their preferred leftist leaders, but these elected individuals were unrightfully removed. And eventually, the farmers have had enough and decided to start a communist rebellion in the countryside. But something strange and supernatural started happening. According to accounts, rebels would be found dead with acupuncture wounds to their necks that looked like vampire bites. Villagers would go to believe that these attacks were caused by the aswang, a vampire like creature from the Philippine folklore. Fear spread fast and support for the rebellion dropped. Later account claimed that this was not supernatural at all, and that there were no vampires, except maybe for vampire Edward Lansdale, a CIA officer who reportedly used local superstitions as psychological warfare. The idea was simple. If people already believed in something, you used that against them. There were no vampires, just a carefully planted story designed to break morale. Now let's go back to the hills. And we're going to get kind of speculative. Most of the things I'm about to tell you were actually happened. However, we don't have any proof of it being connected. So here are some strange patterns people pointed to. First thing first is that UFO sightings increased sharply after World War II. The CIA was formed in 1947. The Roswell incident, when a rancher found a large piece of debris on his land, happened the same year. The Army first said they recovered a flying disc, then quickly changed the topic, then quickly changed the story to a weather balloon. Decades later, it was revealed to be Project Mogul, a secret program involving high altitude balloons designed to detect Soviet nuclear tests. During the same period, Operation Paperclip was taking place from 1945 to 1959, in which the US reallocated a bunch of Nazi scientists and engineers and technicians to the US and had them working on military and aerospace projects in secret. Many UFO sightings are also reported near military sites and mostly nuclear facilities. Not all of them, but a good chunk. Many UFO whistleblowers are former military or intelligence officers, which begs the question, if these people are out here spilling the nation's secrets, how come the CIA have not organized the coup? How come they are not getting the whistleblower special? You know, when you die of heart attack in the middle of the night when you're in your mid 30s? And how come they're offered a platform to talk on? Especially, how come they manage to appear on Fox News?
Barack Obama said that aliens are real. Have you seen any evidence of non-human visitors to Earth?
Well, he gave classified information. He's not supposed to be doing that. You know.
So aliens are real.
Well, I don't know if they're real or not. I can tell you, he gave classified information. He's not supposed to be doing that.
What was
He
the
made
classified?
he made a big mistake. He took it out of classified information. No, I don't have an opinion on it. I never talk about it. A lot of people do. A lot of people believe it. Do you believe it, Peter?
Well, the president can declassify anything that he wants to. So
Well,
if you
maybe I'll
want to
get him
make
out
an
of trouble.
announcement,
I may get him out of trouble by declassifying.
In 2020, the Wall Street Journal reported that the Pentagon had at times allowed UFO rumors to grow in order to hide a secret weapons program. One example mentioned was a fake program called Yankee Blue, which was presented as alien technology but turned out to be a hoax. The US force was so dedicated to the plot that they actually were spreading misinformation amongst their own officers. Some Air Force units were shown UFO photos and told they were part of a top secret program called Yankee Blues that involved alien technology and that they had to hide that alien technology and reverse engineer it. It turned out it was all made up, likely to confuse outsider intelligence and protect classified weapons. According to the report, this practice have dated back to the 1950s and it was not discontinued into 2020. That's a long ass prank, and hey, I'm not mad about it. You do what you gotta do to protect the secret weapons or whatever. However, I do have a problem when it starts targeting civilians, which unfortunately did happen. In the 1980s, Air Force investigator Richard Doughty admitted he also fed false and fabricated information to UFO enthusiasts in order to protect classified projects. He actually went as far as providing doctor documents that looked like real proof of aliens. The unfortunate part is that one of the people he fed this information to was Paul Benowitz, a New Mexico businessman and a UFO enthusiast. It all started when Paul noticed strange lights over Kirtland Air Force Base. Believing it might be UFOs, he began documenting them. At that point in time, Paul was mentally balanced. He was a bit curious, but his business was thriving and his personal life was doing fine, and overall, he was mentally stable. This caught the attention of the Air Force that knew that Paul was watching them. Doughty then introduced himself to Paul and started feeding him stories about how an alleged alien conspiracy was taking place, involving abductions, experimentations on human beings, and government involvement. Paul ended up losing the battle to paranoia and hallucinations as he started fearing government surveillance and alien attacks and conspiracies everywhere. Paul died in 2003 after years of struggle with mental health issues that resulted from this same experience. This is the power of the story. The human mind is so fragile and can be easily broken with belief. On a more recent note, the Pentagon acknowledged investigating an identified area of phenomena. Videos like Gimbal and Go Fast show objects moving in unusual ways, and people have kind of debunked these videos. But around the same time, it was revealed that the US Navy had patented technology using laser-induced plasma filaments. These lasers can create glowing shapes in midair that appear on infrared sensors. In theory, this kind of technology could create phantom aircrafts or strange objects that look real to detection systems. So, across the decades, we have a pattern: psychological warfare that have been used before, disinformation that have been used before, secret military technology that have been hidden behind false explanation before, advanced projections or decoy systems that now exist, making it harder to decipher whether what we are seeing is the truth. Another Redditor said, and I quote, "At the same time that we are trying to subvert public opinions in South America and Central America, we have MKUltra and MK Surge going on, where they are looking to test these drugs on people. But look at how they administer them. They get prostitutes to bring people back to office. They are trying to control the set and setting. They aren't randomly arresting people and getting a scary doctor to inject them. They are extremely aware of trying to keep these people at ease. They know that how they drag these people can affect the end result. If UFOs are 100% human made, the technology to do a lot of this may not have been perfected. So testing it on some random hayseeds makes sense. If you're thinking along the lines of something like Project Blue Beans, that's a lot of tech that needs to be developed, and not all of it can be done with the public eye without possibly tipping your hat. You need to test the hoax to find a way to fool the public, because going live on the entire population leaves no room for error. So you pick a person you could easily write off or discredit, and then drive them nuts, and then drive them nuts with your hoax. When they talk, laugh at them and say, "Of course we don't have saucers and green dudes from Mars." And once the tech is perfected and the plan is ready, boom, suddenly they're aliens, and they want to take over.